Pages 27 to 29 in Changing Minds. A new law arrives. As I read through, follow the words with your finger. This will help you to understand what we are reading. You may want to pause the video as you take your notes on either how some of the poor people were helped or how some of the poor people were punished. A new law arrives. The 1601 Poor Law. At their meeting in February 1601, the Mayor of Bristol showed the burgesses an important document. It was a new law from Parliament, bearing Queen Elizabeth's royal seal. This law was to be used all over the country. The burgesses would have to make it work in Bristol. They read it carefully. The church wardens of every parish shall set to work all persons who have no daily trade to get their living. Raise weekly, by taxation of richer people of the parish, sums of money to provide wool, thread and iron to set the poor to work. Pay money towards the relief of any lame, old, blind or other poor who are not able to work. Make the children of some poor live with local craftsmen and learn a trade as apprentices. Send to a jail or a house of correction any who refuse to work. Whip until bloody any vagabond out of his parish and send him back to his home. The justices of the peace must make sure that this law is carried out properly. Just turn the page. The mayor and the burgesses of Bristol could see that this law was not completely new. It just pulled together different parts of other laws. However, the law was now very clear on two things. The burgesses might have argued about them. Number one, the 1601 Poor Law said that there was a big difference between able-bodied people who really wanted work and sturdy beggars who were fit and well but refused to work. This law is much better. Now we will only punish those who really need to be punished. I disagree. The new law is not harsh enough on the vagrants. It was better when we used to bore holes in their ears. Number two, all the better off people in each parish now had to pay a tax called the poor rate. The poor rate is a good idea. Many parishes already use this and it works. This is a disaster. Our grandfathers relied on the Christian duty and generosity of the rich citizens. Now the whole city is responsible for the poor people. The poor will become lazier than ever. The burgesses probably also argued about whether to spend money building more almshouses and hospitals for the sick or elderly poor people. And should they build a special place for the poor people who refuse to work? Some cities, such as Norwich, had built special houses of correction. These were like prisons for poor people. The sturdy beggars would be kept there for about 3 weeks and would only receive food and drink if they did some work. What the burgesses did. In the end, the burgesses of Bristol decided not to build any new almshouses or a house of correction. They decided that they would collect the poor rate and use it to help only the deserving poor, just as the Queen had ordered. This would be expensive. They were therefore determined that only the deserving poor born in Bristol should be given help. They came up with a plan. The burgesses appointed a special officer called Beadle of the Beggars. Let me repeat that, sorry. The Burgesses appointed a special officer called a Beadle of the Beggars. It was his job to search for any vagrants, idle and disorderly people. This beadle had so much to do that they soon had to appoint another beadle to help him. This second beadle was called the Beadle of the Rogues. He had to round up all the beggars who were thieves. The Burgesses gave him whips and set up a cage to hold up anyone he arrested. Busy beadles. These beadles must have been very busy. Bristol was full of outsiders. Some had come just a few miles. Others came across the sea from Ireland. Anyone who allowed a stranger to live in their house was ordered to get rid of them, or they would face a heavy fine. In 1605, the citizens of Bristol paid for 66 vagrants to be shipped back to Ireland. One problem for the beadles was that it was hard to know which poor people were vagrants from elsewhere and which belonged to Bristol. So the Burgesses ordered all poor people from Bristol who were receiving help to wear a special badge on their right shoulder. If they refused to wear the badge, they would be punished as an ordinary vagrant. The badge had to be made of red or blue cloth. The badge for the parish of St Stephen's might have looked like this: a P and then SS underneath.